Hey, it's Tristan, and we're going to talk about making tough decisions. No one likes to make tough decisions because, at the definition, it's a tough thing to do. It's challenging. It stretches us past our comfort zone. We don't like them. We like easy decisions. We like to go ahead and go with the regular flow and current of life. But every once in a while, a decision comes along on our path, and we have to figure it out. It's not an easy process. Sometimes it takes way longer than what we want it to, and we lose sleep over it. We're stressed out over it. But there are ways to go ahead and make the best move when you're faced with a tough decision. But before you even figure out what you're going to do, realize that the stagnation that you feel or the procrastination that you're going through when making a tough decision, it's only because at the core level, there's fear. There's fear of the unknown. There's fear that if you make the wrong decision, you have to live with these consequences forever sometimes. And it's just not true. So when you're making a tough decision, don't be led by fear. Don't be bound by the unknown or the bad things that you think are going to happen, because at the end of the day, the decisions that you make can be led by good and sound wisdom. And this is how we're going to figure out how to make the best use of your time, of your information, of your resources when you're faced with a tough decision. So the first thing is just get all the information that you possibly can and organize it. So fear sometimes is at the core level of our hearts when we're trying to figure out what to do when faced with a tough decision. And if you don't have information, we're scared of what we don't know sometimes. If you're thinking about relocating to a new city and you don't know about that city, sometimes that can be a little bit scary. Or whatever the opportunity is, if you don't know every single thing that you possibly can know about it, sometimes you can be a little uneasy about making a decision if you don't have all the information. So go ahead, take your time. Just start over, hit the refresh button. Let's just go ahead and restart this process, starting with getting all the information that you possibly can. Now, information is power. And when you know how to use that information to make a wise decision, you are empowered. So after you get everything you possibly can find out, organize it in an unbiased way. So for every decision that you possibly can make, go ahead and just organize everything that you've learned. Just write down everything unbiased fashion, because right now you're still in just the research phase. Because when you organize it, you write it down, you're allowing your mind to take a break. Because until you get all of your thoughts organized, your mind is having to deal with everything that you've learned. It's figuring out, what do I think? Is this the best way? Is that the best way? And it's a mental overload. So go ahead and do yourself and your mind a favor and just write everything down, get all the information possible, and organize it. And then next, seek counsel. Figure out who are the wise people in your life, who are the trusted people in your life, and go ahead and make one group of those two different groups and figure out what they think about your situation. So there are four groups of people that you can go ahead and get wise and trusted counsel from. The first is your friends, the people that you are doing life with, your peers, the people that are up to date on what you want to accomplish in life, how you're thinking as of late, what are the new trends that you're excited about. These people are walking alongside of you, and outside of you yourself, they probably know what you're feeling best, even if you don't know how to articulate it. You know, you give your best friend a sentence and sometimes they can spit the rest of it out before you finish it. So you want to go ahead and talk to those people. And then next, talk to some mentors, people that you have close relationships with, but people that aren't afraid to tell you what you need to hear versus what you want to hear. Mentors are the people, they may have known you for years. They may have seen you grow up. They may be training you in a specific skill, but your mentors are the people that you can have an honest conversation with. They want to see you do well. They're invested in your future. They're invested in your success. So go ahead and reach out to a mentor and be open to what they have to say. Then next, your leaders. Go ahead and talk to your leaders. These are people that are knowledgeable in the area which you're making a decision. You may not have the best personal relationship with them, but you definitely don't want to ignore the wisdom and experience they have in your given area of decision making. Maybe a boss, maybe a supervisor, or it may be a person that you admire from afar. Reach out, via social media or via email and just say, hey, can I treat you out to coffee or can I take you to lunch? I have a situation and I don't know what to do, and I admire you enough to seek your opinion. Would you give me that opportunity? Most times people would be humbled that you admire them enough to seek out their opinion, and most times they'll give you their time. Or if not their time, they'll respond to you via email or whatever way is most convenient for them. So go ahead and reach out to leaders. Their experiences are invaluable because many times they've already made the decision that you're trying to make right now, and they have something to share that could potentially save you from making a bad decision. And then the fourth is go ahead, talk to God about it. Don't be afraid to talk to your creator, the one that made you and is all wise and knows so much more about the situation than what you know. It's really easy to figure out everything that we know and talk to the people that we can talk to and that we can actually hear back from immediately. But sometimes it's just good to connect spiritually, to connect with your creator and, connect to this infinite wisdom that we believe is out there and can help guide us when we don't know which way to go. So the next thing, when making tough decisions, identify past patterns. So what does that mean? Identify past patterns. You've made tough decisions before. You've been in a similar situation. In the past, identify what are the patterns that you've normally operated under. What have you done before? And after you identify those past patterns, think, do you like the results that you've gotten from these decisions that you've made in the past? In your previous relationships, when you made this decision, did you like what happened? If you were in the past thinking about professional transition and you left this job for that one, did you like how it turned out? Identifying past patterns is so important because it truly helps us to know thyself. When you're stressed, when you don't have information, or when you're trying to figure out what's the best way to go, identify what have you done before? Did you like what you did? Did you like what you got from it? Because sometimes we're trying to get to a new place. We're trying to do something brand new in our lives. And if we keep continuing the same patterns, we're only going to continue to get what we've already gotten. It's just going to look a little different. It's just going to have different packaging, a different color wrapper on it. But the substance would be the exact same thing sometimes if we make the same decisions. But if you like the decisions that you've made, keep going in the right direction. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. But you have to identify what those patterns are so that you can assess if you want to continue to move in that direction. And next, identify hypothetical situations. Go ahead, engage your imagination. Think about what are the possibilities. But this is the key. Start out with the positives. Our minds could think about, what is the worst that can happen? If I move here, I'm going to be an outcast and I'm not going to meet anybody and all these bad things. Let's go ahead and reset and think about positivity. Let's think about great outcomes that can happen. Line up every different decision that you can make. And for each option, ask yourself, what's the best possible scenario that can come from this situation? Oh, it's going to be so freeing to look at the opportunities that you can have versus the negative consequences. Many times we're driven more by fear than by what we can actually gain from something, the joy that we can derive from a situation. Let's go ahead and reverse the trend that most of us have. Let's think about positivity over negativity. Let's go ahead and create the future that we want to have instead of thinking about the past that we want to avoid. Let's go ahead and be positive. Let's be positivity driven. We're thinking about these decisions, but don't ignore the negative consequences because they exist. I don't want you to think, oh, I'm going to be so positive. I'm going to think about the best that can happen and ignore these different things because the negative things can happen. They're out there. So be aware of both. That's all I'm saying. And go ahead and put a little bit more energy into thinking about the great things that can happen and thinking about the negative things that can happen. And the last thing, make 2 decisions. That's right. Make 2 decisions. I know you're thinking about one scenario, but there are 2 decisions that you need to make. So the first one, You make a decision at night or midday. So give yourself a time limit, 3 to 5 minutes max. After you get all the information and you've talked to people and you've laid out the pros and cons, make a quick decision. Because if you don't give yourself a time limit, this scenario can go on for days or for weeks. And before long, you'll look up and you'll still be in the same situation that you were a month ago. So give yourself a time limit. Make the decision. And the good thing about making a quick decision is that during the course of that day, you're going to take care of your body. You're going to take care of your mind, take care of your spirit. You're going to put yourself at the best possible place for you to think clearly. You're going to hydrate yourself well. You're going to eat a good, healthy meal with something green or red or yellow on your plate. Go ahead and nourish your body. You're going to take care of your mind, take some time to meditate, get a good night's rest. Because the next day is when your second decision comes. You're going to either affirm or deny the decision you made the previous day. So many Fortune 500 CEOs, many political leaders, as people that are major movers and shakers, they never make a decision past a certain time of the day. Sometimes it's noon, sometimes it's 3 p.m., but they have a time limit before the day gets too stressful, before they get worn out mentally and emotionally. They don't make key decisions after a certain time. So the day before, you're going to make a quick decision, and then you're going to give yourself that next day, whatever time it is, whether it's 12 or it's 3, to affirm or deny that decision. Because when you wake up, you're going to have that decision that you made on your mind, and you're either going to feel peace about it or you're still going to feel stressed. And what you think first thing in the morning, after you have a good night's rest, after you're hydrated, you're fed well, you've nurtured your body, go ahead and just be honest with yourself. What are you thinking about the decision that you made? And if you have peace about it, go ahead and move forward. If you don't have peace about it, maybe you've made the wrong decision and you need to change it. But you have up until 12 or 3 o'clock to change the decision and move forward with it. Because you don't want to give yourself too much time and be all over the place and don't know what you're going to do. It's called being double-minded. So go ahead, make a decision, stick with it, go through the process, get all the information, lay it out, know your pros and cons, make a decision and go with it. Because the beauty of the matter is that if you make a decision that you don't like over time, you can change it. Wow, it's so awesome. If you move to a city and you don't like it, guess what? You can move back. If you take a job that you're not excited about, guess what? You can apply for another one. Life gives us grace, and we can make new decisions if we don't like where we go at first. But let's go ahead and make wise, good decisions so we're lessening the space that we have to reverse our decisions. Because even though we can reverse decisions, they come with consequences. Sometimes they're not the worst, but they come with consequences nonetheless. So whatever tough decision that you have to make, take your time, go through the process, but you can do it. And when you make a decision, believe in yourself, believe that you've made the right choice, and go forward with it.